Third event of the Italian Conductor in New York series. The first was in January with Gian Andrea Noseda, and the second in February with Rinaldo Alessandrini. And today the talk will be with Nicola Luisotti. Nicola Luisotti is an Italian conductor. He is now the principal conductor at the San Francisco Opera. He was born in Toscana, in Viareggio, and started studying in Italy between Florence and Milan. He started his career as chorus master, and then since 2000 and 2001, he started working as conductor, right? 1997. Ah, okay. Yeah. So the biography was wrong. He made his debut at the San Francisco Opera in 2005 and became principal conductor in 2009. Right? 2007. Ah, okay. So the biography was wrong again.
I signed the contract.
Okay. But since then, he conducted more than 40 operas there. Is it right? Okay. And also, he performed in some of the most important opera houses in the world, between them Vienna Staatsoper, Carlo Felice Genoa, La Fenice, Bayerische Staatsoper in Munich, Frankfurt, Stuttgart, Tokyo, and so on, and at the Met Opera in New York, where he's conducting in this season La Traviata, which is now open until the end of this month. So if you have the chance, if you want to see La Traviata at the Met Opera, conducted by Nicola Luisotti, you're very welcome to go to the Met Opera. The conversation, as every other event of the series, will be conducted by Harvey Sachs, our musicologist. And again, thank you for coming, and enjoy the event. Thank you.
So, as usual, I want to begin by asking how you got started in music, how this career, musicians begin, they don't know where it's going to go. When you're a child, you start off maybe with piano lessons or something of the sort, and gradually you become more and more involved in this wonderful art that sucks you in. So I would like to ask Maestro Luisotti how he began, how the passion for music began.
Actually, when you are young, you don't know anything about anything. And I remember I was really, really young, and my mother used to sing for me some song to let me sleep. But it was impossible because I was crying when she was singing. So my mother was surprised, and she told to my father, Nicola, when I sing some song for him, he started to cry. I don't know why. And then lately I discovered that I was just passionate about the music because no one chooses the music's choosing you. It's like a vocation, like a priest. You are called by somebody by a force that you don't know that even exists. And when she discovers you, she will never abandon for the rest of your life. It's a kind of golden cage where I'm still inside right now. And yeah.
And then how did you began to study
I
piano?
Actually, I had a huge passion for the pipe organ. When I was young, I used to play in the church. When I was 9, I started 9 to play in the church. And then at the age of 11, I was conducting the chorus in my village. I remember the face of the people when I was pointing my finger to them. At 50 years old, 60 years old, they were scared about me, and I was conducting from the organ. And actually, play the organ and conduct an orchestra is almost the same, because you have a lot of pipe, a lot of register to put in the organ, and with the orchestra you have it the same, but you don't have keys, you have people. And of course, push a key is different than speak with the people and give to them the confidence to do what they have to do. So when you become a conductor, when the people trust in you, not when you trust in the music. This is, I realized that I was a conductor when I was able to convince people without forcing them. The orchestra is a kind of woman that you can't force. You have to seduce all the time, every minute, every second. And when they understand this, that you are not trying to seduce, but trying to be real with the music, they will follow you. Otherwise, it's impossible. You become conductor. I don't know actually when I became a conductor, because I studied piano. I am graduating piano. I've studied trumpet. I've studied violin. I studied composition, singing. I'm a singer. I'm a former singer. And at some point, for some reason, I was in conservatory, and people in the same course of composition with me, they told me, we don't know who could conduct our piece. I said, if you want, I can try. Okay, let's try. I tried, and it was so easy for me to do that. And the people say, oh my gosh, you are so great, so why you don't continue? Okay, I will continue. But then I was really far away to become a real conductor. Actually, you can't decide for a career of conductor. The people that will watch you, that will decide for you. You don't say, I want to conduct the orchestra, I want to conduct in the theater. The people will say for you. When they call you, you are never prepared, I assure you.
So, but what was the first time when you actually conducted an orchestra as opposed to chorus or, you know, group of singers or something like that?
In orchestra, I was in Torre del Lago, and I was a pianist at the time for...
Torre del Lago is Puccini territory.
Yes. It was probably 89. It was, I don't remember if it was Tosca, and Giuliano Carella, a conductor, he was trying to understand something from the audience, and I was the pianist at the time, and he asked me to conduct. Are you able to conduct? I said, I don't know, I can try. So, because I have to go in the audience and listen to the, and that was my first time. I was 37, 28, I don't remember, something like that. And it was easy for me. The orchestra applauded me. I thought that they were applauding me because they were nice. And Giuliano Carella told me, no, they applaud you because you were good.
Yeah, orchestras aren't very nice. If you're not good, they won't applaud you.
No, they don't.
Sometimes they don't applaud even if you are good, but that's a whole other story. Well, yeah, I mean, so from there, but because until then you had worked mostly as a maestro sostituto or rehearsal pianist, and
I sang in a chorus. First of all, I sang in a chorus in Torre del Lago. I have also done piano bar in some nightclub and to get some money to study. And then I sang in a chorus in Torre del Lago in Lucca, a small season. And then I graduated in piano, and Torre del Lago got me as a pianist and music director of backstage music, because I was able to conduct in anticipation. You know what does it mean? When you conduct backstage music, you have to conduct before the conductor. That is very hard to do. I will never do it for the rest of my life, because it was the hardest thing that I have done in my life. The conductor is going ping, 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 and you have to go a little bit before that ping, ping, because material and distance create late sound. in the audience. So who's conducting backstage music has to anticipate. And I was playing the piano and doing the backstage music. It was the first time was 88 in Torre del Lago, 89. Yeah.
So some of you, I'm sure, know this, but Torre del Lago, there's a Puccini festival there. That's where one of the places where Puccini lived. And Maestro Luisotti comes from the province of Lucca, which is where Puccini, Catalani, Geminiani, a whole bunch of composers and Boccherini, outstanding musicians came from Lucca and its dintorni, its area. And so you sort of breathe the music there, maybe. And Lucca itself has a beautiful theater, the Teatro del Giglio, and so on. I assume that you heard things there when you were young.
I sang there.
Yeah.
I sang there in the chorus. I sang with Carlo Bergonzi, I remember, one Gioconda, yes. I sang with Gianfranco Ceccele and Silvano Carloli, La Fanciulla dell'Ouest. I remember beautiful things happened there. With Ghena Dimitrova in Turandot, in Torre del Lago. And then, after that, I won an audition in Florence at the Maggio Musicale Fiorentino as a chorister because I was able to sing, so I won an audition there. And the same year, I won another audition in Teatro alla Scala as a maestro sostituto. It means co-ripetitore, I mean, pianist.
Assistant conductor and rehearsal pianist.
With Riccardo Muti and Lorin Mazel. And that was a great experience for me because I was able to see from short distance the work of those great conductors that still I admire today. Muti, I mean, is still alive. Of course, it's one of the greatest example of how you have to conduct. And Lorin Mazel, that has passed away just 1 year ago, probably 1 year ago. I was assistant then, lately, of Mazel. And I had the opportunity to learn not everything, but many things in how to do the things.
It's very interesting, and I think a wonderful sign as well that you grew up doing music and not doing conducting competitions. You know, there are a lot of young conductors who, you know, they learn their scores well and so on. And they do their conducting competitions, and they do the Beethoven symphonies or, you know, the standard symphonic repertoire. And then they try to conduct opera. And, you know, depending on who they're working with, the results can sometimes be disastrous. Not always, but often. And the way Maestro Luisotti grew up is the way the conductors of the past grew up, working first in the theater, either as instrumentalists in the orchestra, members of the chorus, and then rehearsing the singers, the chorus from the piano, and gradually developing the skills that are needed. Unfortunately, today we see many conductors who don't know how to work with singers. You know, they expect when the singer arrives, the singer will already know the part, and we put them on the stage. And it's so important for the conductor to be able to work directly with the singer on phrasing, on you name it, on technique even. And so it's becoming more and more rare, I would say, unfortunately.
Yeah, you know, singers expecting from you that you know everything. Orchestras is a different group. They have their part to play. They are taking care about the ensemble. They are taking part of their personal sound, and they have a technique to do it. Many singers has the same. The problem with singers that they are all the time scared to sing. They are very fragile, and they think that that day they will be not able to sing. What you see on stage when you go get a ticket, you go in the audience. The feeling that you have that they are so sure, they are so powerful, they can sing, they can see the top note, and they can show to the people. But before the performance, you have to believe me, I saw many of them cry. They are scared. they don't want to go on stage. When I go to them before the performance, even if I am terribly ill, I have to say that I'm fine, I'm great, I'm fantastic, I'm good, because they will get my energy. And this is very important for a conductor. Give to the singers the brave to put their feet on stage, because that night, especially tenors and sopranos, that are the more unreliable.
Yeah, and when they come,
people.
when the conductor goes into the dressing room of the singer to encourage them, and the singer goes, you know, that happens. No?
Many times I go to, they say, Maestro, tonight I can't sing. I said, I know, don't worry, would be fine. No, really, it's not like the last time. Tonight, really, I will not sing. Please do something. Maybe I have to cancel. No, let me see. No, maybe you are right. Then they come on stage and they feel themselves. The night they told me, tonight is impossible, will be the best night for them. Believe or not.
It's because the singer, the instrument is in your body, and so it's not like going out and playing on a keyboard, which is hard enough, but for a singer, it's a whole different kettle of fish. So your career developed in that way, and I would like to show now a little bit of, we have some brief excerpts from some of Maestro Luisotti's performances. This first one is from Otello at the Teatro San Carlo, I think, in Naples. Yeah? It's from, I don't know, 2 years ago, 3 years ago? Something like that. It's just
13?
We have just a few minutes of it.
14 or 14? Okay.
2014, okay.
La tua meta già vedo, ti spinge il tuo dimone, e il tuo dimone son io, tu me trascina il mio, nel quale io credo isolato in Dio. La viltà d'un germe, d'un atomo, vile sannato, son scelleato, perché son uomo, e sento il fatto originario in me. Credo confermo cuor, siccome crede la vedova nel tempio, e il mal ch'io penso che da me procede, per mio destino adempio. È un istrion beffardo, e nel viso e nel cuor è tutto in lui bugiardo, lagrima, odio, guardo, sacrificio e dolore. Credo La morte. E poi e poi la morte è il nulla. La vecchia
Thank you. Yeah, speaking of the difficulty that singers have, that's one of the most difficult first passages in the entire repertoire for the poor tenor who has to come in cold and sing that unbelievable opening phrase. Do you want to mention anything about that production or anything specific about?
No, just that the sound of the recording was not good.
Yeah, no, I realize that.
I'm not
but
happy.
It should, the impact of that opening scene is physical on the audience if it is the way it's supposed to be. I remember taking my son to a rehearsal of Otello when he was 11 or 12, and when he heard that first chord go like that, it was just a shock, physical shock to hear that.
Yeah.
So Naples, you were in Naples for a period, but before that, before that, you came to San Francisco.
Yeah.
Or do you want to start a little farther back and talk about...
Whatever you like.
No.
I will answer everything.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, I'm curious about the development, how gradually you came to feel that this was your calling and that this was what you could do well.
Well, the call was really early in my life, and as a conductor, probably I was working in La Scala with Muti in Don Giovanni, and a singer, Desderi. Do you remember Desderi? Claudio Desderi was there, and I was working with Desderi. Was also Ferruccio Furlanetto was singing Don Giovanni at the time. Edita Gruberova, and many singers. And Muti was conducting. And
Strehler production, Giorgio Strehler.
Giorgio Strehler production, and it was 1989. And Claudio Desderi told me, you know that you are very talented as a musician. Why don't you conduct? I said, I don't know. Would you like to be a conductor? But I don't know how to do it. Okay, there is a friend of mine that is Piero Bellugi, that he is going to teach in a place. I don't remember which year. Do you remember, Rita, what it was that year? 91? Sì, l'anno 89. No, Don Giovanni, when I went to Piero Bellugi. Probably was later, but he told me, well, when he will do some kind of lesson, I will let you know. So I met him lately, and he told me that he was doing these lessons in Pisa. It was probably 91, 92, I don't remember. And I went to this lesson, and it was Nozze di Figaro, L'Histoire du Soldat, the Stravinsky, and Tchaikovsky Serenade, and my other stuff. So I went there, and I started to conduct with the orchestra. And we were 20 people, 10 effective and 10 to watch. And he started to watch me like that, suspiciously. He was watching me like that, and he was watching me. The orchestra was applauding me. And in the intermission, he came to me and said, what is your name? I said, it's Nicola Luisotti. Okay, Nicola, why you are here? I said, oh gosh, my head was terrible. And he's telling me to stop, to do this scribbling stuff for you. I said, I'm here because I would like conduct. And you are here to show us that you are better than the other people, that you are a conductor already. You want to show us that you are good. Go to conduct, don't stay here. I said, Maestro, but for me it's the first time that I'm conducting with the orchestra and singers. He said to me, really? Yes. He called his assistant, he got the camera, and he put the camera on me. And then he did all the lessons for the other pupils with my filmati, well, with my film. That was my first experience as a conductor, and that was very encouraging. And then, not I decided to be a conductor, but I started to think that it was possible to be a conductor. Then I became assistant of a couple of conductors. One was Laurie Mazel, and somebody noticed me and gave me some performance. And that's it. My career started without forcing or without trying to find a way to conduct, because when you try to find a way, you will never conduct.
Yeah, Piero Bellugi was a Florentine conductor who was a real character, I think we have to say. It was really a very warm but very funny character. And he was very brutally frank, no? I mean, if he said something, he meant it. And I know that he taught many people. He conducted, I think, the Rai Orchestra in Turin for a while, before it was the National Orchestra. He had been an assistant of Leonard Bernstein here also when he was very young. Died a few years ago. All right. So, yeah, that was, I would say, an auspicious beginning, because if he said that to you, that was, you know, a sort of mark of approval. And then going on from there, your first really important engagement?
My first important engagement, it was in the first time that I conducted an opera was 1997. That it was the year that I started to be a conductor. It was Nabucco in North Italy, and I conducted the Cherubini Requiem and Carmina Burana. And Lorenzo Genitori, he was the artistic director of the Vittorio Emanuele Teatro in Messina, in Italy, in the South Italy. He came to me and said, I would like give you an opportunity, and would like to conduct Tosca. Oh my gosh, Tosca is not a small title. I said, you never conduct Tosca? I said, yes, I conducted. It was not true, of course. So in the beginning of your career, you say a lot of lies. But if you're not a good liar, the people will never get you to conduct, because it's a risk for a theater. So I said, yes, I conducted Tosca a couple of times. Where? I don't remember, it's a small place, you know. you try to put some sugar on the lie. So I went to conduct this Tosca, and he was so happy that he gave it to me other two titles the next season. One was Mephistopheles, and the other one was Bohème. During Mephistopheles, it became my greatest opportunity, because Eitan Pessen, that it was artistic director in Stuttgart, he came to listen for a soprano, for a singer, and at the time he didn't like the soprano, but he liked very much me. And so he tried to have me for a new production of Il Trovatore in Stuttgart. It was 2001, I went to Stuttgart, and from there I had the great fortune, I have to say, because everyone in Europe and in the United States came to see me, because he called everyone. You have to come to see this conductor. You have to come to see. So Paris Opera, Vienna, London, Metropolitan. They came in Toronto, and San Francisco. Pamela Rosenberg. Everyone came to see me in this Trovatore, and in a couple or in 6 months, my calendar was full for 3-4 years. That was my really beginning of the career, and I never stopped, unfortunately, for the people that don't like me.
I don't know any. When was that? The
Good
Stuttgart.
answer.
Stuttgart.
What?
When was the
2001, 2002. I have conducted a lot of things, a lot of performance of Trovatore, Tosca, Turandot, Butterfly, Otello, and what else? I don't remember. That's, yeah. Turandot, yes, I already said properly.
He has a prompter here.
Yes, she's my prompter.
So it's been 15, 16 years of crescendo.
Yes, still is in crescendo. I'm very proud of that. I have conducted here at the Met for the first time. It was 2006, after a very happy production in Toronto. I was conducting Un ballo in maschera, and Jonathan Friend came to see that production. He was impressed, and they invited me for my first title. It was 2006, and it was Tosca. Then 2008 was La Bohème. 2010 was the centennial of La Fanciulla dell'Ouest. After Toscanini. He was sorry for that. And
why?
And because Toscanini was another story. I mean, there are conductors and there is Toscanini. Toscanini is not a conductor. Toscanini is a different story. We don't want to talk about Toscanini, right?
No, I've done a lot of talking about Toscanini in the last few weeks.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's when I first heard you was the Fanciulla in 2010 here at the Met. And that was a very important production because the premiere of Puccini's Girl of the Golden West took place at the Met, the world premiere, in 1910, and it was the exact 100th anniversary. Yeah. And that was, the original production was with Toscanini, with Emmy Destine, with Caruso, with Pasquale Amato, all these now legendary singers of the past. So it's interesting that you mentioned both Mefistofele and Il Trovatore, because the other two excerpts that I sent from YouTube are from those two operas. So perhaps we can have a look at this little bit of Mefistofele of Boito, which is a very difficult opera. Well, they're all difficult if you do them well, but it's a particularly difficult opera. And this is the very beginning, the prologue.
Il mio ghigno e la mia vega turba gli occhi al creator. Dimmi se credi Enrico nella religione. Non può turbar le fedi nelle coscienze buone. D'altro parliamo, darem perdiamo fanciulla, sangue vita. Non basta creder bisogno, e a nulla tu credi Enrico. Ascolta, vezzoso angelo mio.
want to say something about that production in particular?
This production is beautiful by Robert Carson. It's one of the best production of Mephistopheles ever, in my opinion. And as you heard, the quality of the orchestra is stunning. And I'm very proud of San Francisco Opera. Yes, the quality is very high. And now the chorus we're going to sing, if you have the opportunity to hear this production.
You can find the whole thing on YouTube.
Yeah, on YouTube, because it's really the quality of the singer, Ramon Vargas, Ildar Brazakov, he was stunning. Patricia Rosset was singing the role of Margherita. And the production is by Robert Carson. And it's very hard to do Mephistopheles because still today there is not a critical edition. What you have is a kind of written score, not imprinted, and it's
Manuscript.
a kind of manuscript is very hard to understand what is written inside, and you have to work a lot with the orchestra, with the part of the orchestra. And this to conduct Mephistopheles, you need really to work a lot alone in your studio, then go to the library and do all the parts for the orchestra. And do it because the problem with Boito, it was that when he has written this opera, he was not so convinced to do the composer. He has written this opera, and the first time was in two parts, but performed the same night. He was 26, and he decided to write the opera, write the libretto, and conduct the opera in La Scala. At the end of this prologue, he had a triumph, and then the opera went on for another 5 hours. After a couple of hours, the audience was so tired, they started to boo, to whistle, he was destroyed. So at the second performance, he decided to split in two. So the Urfaust the first night, and then the Sabba Classico in the second night.
Because it's based on Goethe's Faust.
Yes, but didn't work. Didn't work. The audience was so crazy, so mad, so against him. So he decided to stop, and to stop the career as a composer. He will write in the future. He will write Nerone that was performed but never finished because we are missing the fifth act. But fortunately for the word, he started to cooperate with his former enemy, that was Giuseppe Verdi, and together they created the incredible masterworks.
Yeah, because Boito is the same man who then wrote the libretti for Otello and Falstaff. He was a poet, he was a composer, he was a man of many, many talents, and one of his greatest talents was helping to persuade Verdi to return to composition, to do the Otello and then Falstaff. I'm wondering, though, how could you have done Mephistopheles in Messina? Or is it better not to ask?
No, it was very hard to do it in Messina. But I have a very nice experience with them because they were so fresh, so they believed in everything I was doing. So as I said in the beginning, you discover yourself as a conductor when all the people believe in you. Why Toscanini was so great, because it was impossible don't believe in what he was doing. And if you have the 100%, even if they hate you, doesn't matter. Toscanini was, I don't think that people loved Toscanini. People was just under Toscanini. You could do, when the people, all because they love you, or because they are scared about you, whatever, if all the people are with you, you are a great conductor. Because they will use their talent for you. And not just for you, for the audience. The audience will understand immediately what is going on in the pit, what is going on that night. So more the people you can convince to stay with you, to do what you are doing, more you are great. So I'm still working.
Well, it never ends, right?
No, never ends, of course.
Yeah, the reason I asked about Messina is, of course, it's a small company in a relatively small town, and it's not like doing something in San Francisco or at the Met. The forces are more limited, and you know, it would be very difficult to do a huge opera like that. It's one thing to do La Serva Padrona, or you know, with a small orchestra and a few singers, but to do a massive work like that with a small company is harder, I would say, than doing it with the San Francisco.
Also, in San Francisco was very hard because
Yes.
in the parts there are many mistakes, and you have to correct the parts before they go in the orchestra. You don't have so much time. In a theater like San Francisco, I have 3 readings. It means 3 rehearsal alone with the orchestra. 1 sits prova, it means one with the orchestra, chorus, singers, 2 stage orchestra rehearsal, and 1 dress rehearsal. This was usually we have for a new production. Here, the Met, for example, for this Traviata, I had 1 sits prova. It means orchestra and singers.
Without stage action.
Exactly.
Right.
1 with stage action and dress rehearsal. That's it. So after 3 rehearsal, you are on stage, I mean, with the audience at your shoulder. But the dress rehearsal is already with the audience. Sometimes it's not so easy conduct because you have to express everything without saying any words. You can stop and say, okay, guys, let's do this. You can do this. You have just to show with this is sometimes so impossible to do. But
Vienna is famous for sometimes no rehearsals.
no rehearsal at all. You do 2 days with the piano, and you go direct in performance. But the results sometimes are really, really rough.
Yeah, yeah, no. There
For
are
everyone.
conductors who won't, you know, who will, I mean, somebody like Muti, who, you know, has the reputation to be able to say no, will only do new productions
Yeah.
where they have a lot of rehearsal
I'm not
time.
conducting in Vienna anymore for that reason.
Yeah, yeah,
Because they don't give you a rehearsal, so why I have to go?
right.
I need to rehearse, and not because I want to do so, because I'm not good enough. So I need to rehearse
No, without rehearsal,
rehearse.
the conductor is sort of a traffic policeman. You know, just
Absolutely.
giving signals and hoping that everything,
Yeah,
that there
I
won't
know.
be a big crash,
Yeah.
which sometimes happens and
Yes.
sometimes doesn't
Yeah.
happen. Yeah. So, yes, this is a very interesting aspect of conducting is the relative difficulty of working with a great ensemble or a smaller ensemble. I mean, everything is always in a state of flux somehow or other in this business or profession, art. The other thing that I wanted to mention, because you also do a fair amount of symphonic conducting.
Yeah.
So I always remember Jimmy Levine saying years ago, you know, you want to do a concert, the orchestra's there, you walk out, you rehearse, you go home, you come and you do the concert. An opera, you've got all these different elements that you have to look after. It's a much more exhausting and involving, in every sense, experience. But it doesn't mean that conducting symphonic music is easier. It's at least as hard musically, but it's different from the physical point of view.
When you conduct an opera, you have to relate to everyone, to directors, singers, orchestras, chorus, and all the people on stage, maestri, staff, musical staff. You have a lot of things to do. When you do symphonic, at least you have just the orchestra, the chorus, all singers, but they don't move. The problem when the people start to move on stage, if you do a production of, for example, of Gianni Schicchi, you know, Gianni Schicchi, they have to move. They can stay in front of you doing like that. Otherwise, it's a disc. And when they start to move, and the music goes so fast, and you don't know what to do sometimes. You have just to catch them. You have to prepare them, the singers privately, very solid, because when they are solid musically, then they can move on stage freely and show to the audience something. And And you realize how much is the conductor nonsense, because when everything go well, and you didn't notice the conductor was very good. When you start to notice the conductor too many times the evening, what he's doing, not good.
Right, the conductor is the focal point, but in a sense should be invisible. No?
Absolutely. The more invisible it is, more beautiful will be the night. That was right, Wagner and Verdi at the end of the 19th century, around in the 80s, that he said Wagner is right. We have to cover, we have to put the orchestra in a pit. But this is very interesting. I don't know if you never thought about that, but when Wagner created Bayreuth Festival, he created a system that allowed to the audience to see the stage but not the orchestra. But the audience were able, the singers were able to listen to the orchestra, and the orchestra were not creating a wall to project the sound. And when Verdi said, okay, we have to do like Wagner, we have to create a pit, and all the Italian people believed in him. And it was a great mistake. Why? Because the pit that Wagner created was a kind of cave that put all the orchestra inside over here. And you don't see the conductor, you don't see the musician, because they are like this, going down.
Under the stage.
Under the stage, like that. And the audience is here and see this kind of cover and watching just the stage. You don't see the orchestra, but you listen, you can hear very well the sound. And the singers, because they don't have a wall in front of them of sound, they can cross easily this wall of sound from the stage. Italian theater, they were created to put the singers in the proscenium under their scenic arch to project the sound at the audience. And the orchestra were in the audience, where it is called orchestra. With the pit, the orchestra went inside of the pit, and all the Italian theater cut the stage. The stage is done like, I need a dashboard. Right. And this is very interesting. Let's suppose, sorry, this is the proscenium, and this is where the orchestra is today. At the time of Verdi, here was the proscenium, and there the orchestra, in the audience where the people sit. They cut all this part and cut here. The other is the barcaccia, and now the singers are singing here. And there is the orchestra creating a wall like that, drang. And the other side there is the audience. And you say, they are not anymore the singers that years ago. Of course they are not. They are not the theaters than in the past. Because what we have done, we let disappear the theaters, the construction of the theaters, not the singers. Singers has the same qualities because we are human beings, and we have the same quality of the time of Verdi, Donizetti, Bellini, and Mozart. But just we were able to destroy all the pizza in Italy. Believe it or not, I have the photos of La Scala in 1934, when with also the help of Toscanini, they did that. And in this sense, I think they did a great mistake, because or you create the same pit that Wagner got for, Wagner understood for Bayreuth, or you leave the Teatro Italiana like we had before the 19th century.
The problem was that with the late 19th century operas, with Wagner and later Verdi and so on, if you leave the orchestra at the level of the main floor, you still cover the voices. It's sort of 50-50, no? You cover the voices whether you're at that level. You have to make the orchestra. I mean, if you think that Salome had its world premiere at La Scala when there was no pit, they must have played 1/4 the dynamics indicated in the score in order not to drown out the singers.
I think that if we want to go back, or we want to go ahead, probably we have to transform, because the pit, as are built today, are a compromise. It works, but you have to. I conducted many times in La Scala, and all the time in La Scala you have to say to the people, più piano, più piano, più piano, più piano, più piano, più piano. Mezzo forte, mezzo piano, mezzo forte, but the composer writes fortissimo. Why they are written fortissimo and you have to play mezzo piano? So with Gabriele Lavia, when we have done Attila in La Scala, I said this problem to Gabriele. I said, Gabriele, you have to help me because the acoustic doesn't work. What we can do, he told me, I will build a prolonging of the stage on the pit. And with the stage, he prolonged the pit. And all the singers were actually in front of the audience, and the sound that we were able to create that night in La Scala was really impressive. And that night we had success. Because the people, when they come to the opera, they won't listen to the voices. But if you put the voices 30 meters from me and 40 meters from the audience, or you have a microphone like this, the voices will have. Very easy.
Yes. I wanted to ask you also, just thinking about this with the opening of Mefistofele, and we're going to hear a couple of excerpts, very short excerpts from Il Trovatore. The question of tempo, which is an essential part of the conductor's job, is to establish a tempo. Of course, the singers don't always follow what the conductor establishes, but we hope for the best. How do you arrive at your choice of tempo?
Yesterday, Placido Domingo told me a very nice, funny story, but a very good story about Barenboim and the pianist Rubinstein. They were doing together Chopin concert, and Barenboim went to Rubinstein and said to him, Maestro, which tempo do you like that I do? And he said to him, tempo giusto.
The right tempo.
The right tempo. So, which is the right tempo? The tempo that the people can sing, the tempo that the people can play. That's the right tempo. And the right tempo is also the tempo that the audience can sustain during the evening. It's too slow, you will, oh gosh, it's too slow, it's too slow, it's too fast, it's too fast, it's too fast. It depends on what you want to create. What is important that you are serious. When you get a tempo, it's not that just because you want to show that you can go faster than the others, or you can go slower than the other, to do different things. What's important is study, respect the music, and more than respect, love the music that you are conducting. If you love, you will never do a mistake. Also in the life, no? If you love, whatever you do is fine. When you don't love it, you do just because you are thinking of your personal project, personal ambitions, you will destroy everything, even flowers. But if you respect the flower, you love the flower, you will give the right amount of water, the right amount of things that the flowers need. And a score is a kind of garden full of flowers. You have to give the score what she needs.
Yeah, the idea of just wanting to do something different than everybody else. I remember the pianist Christian Zimmermann saying years ago, if somebody comes up to me after a recital and says, oh my God, you played that in a way that nobody else has ever played that, I think to myself, what did I do wrong? You know, because in our basic repertoire, these pieces have been done so many times by so many different artists. If you're just interested in doing something for the sake of doing something new, it's probably not going to be what, or anywhere near what the composer had in mind originally. Now, I would like to open the evening to some questions. But before we do that, I would just like to show these very short a series of short excerpts from the San Francisco Opera's Trovatore production. And one thing that I want you to notice is something that happens, I can guarantee you, every evening at the Opera House. There are a couple of moments where the singer gets behind or gets ahead, and an experienced conductor will adjust immediately. And you can hear that in two places here.
I'm curious, I never heard the Trovatore. Also from me.
Okay. Thanks to all of you for coming out in the rain today, this evening, and we'll see you whenever the next episode takes place. And thank you, Maestro Luisotti, for giving us your time.
Thank you for the all of you. Thank you.